after this. So, yes, can we have a question from the audience first? Anybody would like to start off with a question? Right. Okay. Well, I've got lots of questions. So, can I just ask first, starting with with Rob first. You talked about data infrastructure as public good, as though public good is something that is only there. It's almost like for the good of citizens, whereas could it not also be for the good of businesses, and aren't there benefits for that to be aren't there benefits coming from the exploitation of that data by businesses?
Yes.
Thank you.
If it's a public commons, it's public commons for everybody, whether that's citizens or businesses or community groups or citizen groups or local authorities or semi-state agencies or government departments. It's everybody, right? It's a public commons. The real question comes as to, at the same time, that has to be set against proper funding and sustainability about producing that commons and realising that that involves investment. You know, and that's it's not going to come out of thin air. You can't just say open your data and magic things will happen. It is about putting in proper data infrastructures with proper policies and procedures and staffing and equipment and plans around tech transfer down the line. It's like when we're building the DRI, we always say it's not a 4-year project, it's a 100-year project. You know, if you're going to create a repository around the state's cultural heritage data, then that has to be there for a long time. You don't just build it and fold up, it falls off. So you have to have a whole series of policies, and guidelines, and protocols, and standards, and tech infrastructure, and realise that. So one of the problems we have is data might have been digitised in the 80s or in the 90s, and we have to transfer that. We have to have plans to be able to transfer across that technology into the future. You know, so it's about from the bottom up proper infrastructures. It's not just a question of we'll dump it out in a PDF or a spreadsheet and that will solve everything. It's about proper planning and about proper data-driven governance. If you're going to take data seriously as a mechanism, as evidence of all policy making and transparency and accountability, then it has to be inherently built as proper infrastructure within departments and local authorities and so on.
Barry O'Gorman. Rob, it seems to me working with multinationals that many of them wouldn't release any information in a meaningful way unless they had to. In many cases, and within a business, subsidiaries may not want to report back to head office except that they have to. And that they don't have the resources to do it, but they have to find the resources to do it. So what they have to do is they have to re-engineer their processes, and they've got to say, look, if X% of our resources have to be dedicated to reporting, we have to do that. Why would it be any different in the public sector that unless people have to provide the data, and then unless they're allowed reallocate resources to do it, we won't go anywhere?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You have to properly resource it, and you have to be able to enable the government to have that happen, right? So you can't just say change with, you know, when budgets in departments have been cut 20% or whatever, and miraculously expect stuff to happen. It can be part of the process of change management, and it needs proper planning and so on to do that. But you're right, like you could, you know, the argument is always you'll get cost savings somewhere else in the organisation and this pays for it, or by opening this data you'll create more business, it'll create more tax, and this additional tax will pay for it. I haven't seen any evidence of that yet so far. Might we start to create small businesses and so on, but it's certainly not generating the kind of tax that would enable that kind of change management across every public sector organisation in the state. So yeah, there is some governance management stuff going on there, but it hasn't been made from the top decision that this is what's going to happen. So it hasn't come out of public expenditure reform in the Taoiseach's office that this is what's going to happen. And over a period of time, organisations will have to transfer themselves into the state, and they will have to come up with data strategy management plans as to how they're going to do that, and work out a plan of how they're going to reallocate all resources to enable that to happen. In the same way that the Irish Times is about its internal resourcing to enable a data blog, to enable data journalism, and to put resources over there and so on. And they probably had to rearrange, the chairs around the deck.
Brian Costello from the Central Statistics Office. Pamela, first, just to make a comment to say, by far the most popular pages on the CSO website are the Irish baby names, way ahead of any important economic figures. Okay? So I'm glad to see it replicated in your case. For Rob, yeah, and I think it's around the conversation we're just having here. You made a comment that said really for government departments to continue as is would be as easy for them, i.e. not to have open data. I kind of feel there are two drivers for it being useful data, let's say, which is useful internally and externally, is the fact that government departments need to do more with the data they've got in terms of the management, MIS systems, that sort of thing anyway. And if they do that, if they put the infrastructure in for that, then hopefully it's a very easy step then to move that into the open data arena. So just to make that comment.
Yeah, you would hope so. I mean, you also have to remember there's an awful lot of legacy systems, and you were talking about one department had 18 GIS systems. I've heard of like one local authority that called it differently, took non-interoperable databases, for example. So lots and lots of different data, lots and lots of different silos, and how do you get those out, and how do you interlink them, and how do you get the value out of joining them together. A lot of organisations are quite siloed, and they work on their own little bit, and just get it all together. So there's a lot of work, I think, needs to be done on this kind of institutional, infrastructural end of stuff to actually enable organisations to gain the value of their data. And I have had, I mean, we've been doing this since 2005 on the open up data sets from organisations and put them in Aero, for example. And, I've had lots and lots of different arguments as to why you can't do it, or why you shouldn't do it, or why we wouldn't need to do it. Anything from, basic technical stuff through to, sure, we don't run policy in Ireland off of data or evidence. It's actually quite awkward. We prefer it if we could do it off of anecdote and politics. Really, this is not, and you will get that out of some departments. I've had that argument with people. And there is genuine resistance at the top of some organisations because they know it will be bloody awkward. The reason why we don't have health data is because they know it will be bloody awkward, right? There's a reason why we very rarely see any health maps. I mean, Frank Houghton down in Limerick has done great work on talking about trying to create health atlases. You very rarely see any maps of any health stuff in this state, and it's because it's really very difficult and it's really explosive. There'll be a whole series of stories coming up of it around allocation of resources between hospitals, between doctor surgeries, between what goes on in nursing homes, all this kind of stuff, right? Better just to keep it internal inside the HSC, I would think. No, but if I was HSC manager, that seems to be. I mean, they've spent $5 million on a health atlas for the country. None of us can access it.
So, Dennis and Pamela, you're basically working on the demand for data. You are the data intermediaries for the wider public. What do you see that you need to enable open data to become more sustainable and do what you want it to do in Ireland?
First of all, we want data, public data, to be seen as a public infrastructure. In the same way as public roads, public bridges, or anything as public. When public roads were designed, for example, people were not thinking who's going to cycle on them, who's going to skyboard, and who's going to drive on them. But as long as it's within the law, it's all fine, and people will find the way how to use it, as long as those roads are useful and they lead somewhere. And infrastructure, like politicians love to cut ribbons and open infrastructure, but when it comes to maintenance, that's another question. So we are in a very exciting period of time, and there is a bit of excitement and momentum behind open data, but we have to think further ahead, and when it comes to maintaining and keeping it going, archiving and creating a system, I think, like the sustainability, and they know what's going to happen tomorrow with this data. Then the resources probably, when we'll know the resources hopefully will come.
Well, I suppose from a journalistic point of view, I mean, obviously we're in the business of telling stories, and you know, sometimes we're just accused of telling bad news. But the thing is that you know, you really have to be able to identify the holes. In, for example, I think the health data is a really good example of this. I mean, if you really want to accurately compare how a hospital is, you know, how hospitals are doing against each other, or if there are parts of the country that aren't getting access, you need reliable data in order to do that properly. And it's something, I think that, you know, it's very short-sighted of organisations, and I would certainly agree with Rob that there are certain organisations where it's very much at the top level, people don't want to release that data, sometimes further down the organisation as well. But the more we open up that data, the more that data is interconnected, the better, you know, we get a much, much better picture of what's going on. And the thing is that if you're within an organisation, you're only looking at the data in a certain way. If you open up to organisations like Dennis's or ourselves, or, you know what I mean, people will look at that data in different ways, and they will identify problems. Yes, they will identify problems, but those problems will then actually have the capacity to be solved. If nobody is recognising the problems, then we're not getting anywhere.
Well, that's it.
One question for the hospital data. It's more of a comment, actually, not so much of a question. I noticed that this infographic with waiting hours, average waiting hours, and Galway was by far the top. So just a comment that this doesn't show the full story, as Pamela would certainly know that the same data, for instance, have you normalized it on the budget that they have on this hospital, the number of staff? So it's a lot of things that we need to be careful how to present, because this number doesn't show the full truth, and you can present it the way you want it to tell a different story, right? Because they might be underfunded, or the capacity of the hospital could be lower. So that's a comment.
And yeah, absolutely agree. And if we had the budget data, we would normalise it and all of that type of stuff. So that is just an accurate reflection of what's in the PDF and how the PDF document says right now. That's all it is. But the wider point, what we could do, I can't understand why can we not have good positivity from the HSE, invite them to a forum like this, get a bit of leverage, a bit of political clout at the top, because there's so much goodwill out there in the community, in the volunteers. I just can't believe it. And it's not just being tapped on and utilised. And I often thought, got to be great to just get everybody into a room, but you have to have accountability and governance, and that's your zone. If you get them in there, into the room, and let's put something positive, something tangible. Like, I'm the project manager, so I want to see something tangible outcome. Enough of talking. Just show me the National Treatment Purchase Fund in an open format. It's black and white. Will it be there next month? So some kind of forum like that is what I would like to see, with lots of power behind it, and create some influence.
I'm aware that time is going on, but I would hope that you can stay to ask a few more questions. So, the lady here.
Does the European Union have a position on this in terms of, are they, you know, a lot of times things happen because they have to happen because it's being pushed by the EU. So are they driving this forward, or are they standing in the way of it, or are certain countries kind of streets ahead, or what's the kind of European view? Because a lot of the examples are kind of US maybe.
Well, yeah, the European Union has a big budget and big, like they are fully behind of big data and open data agenda. But like, if you look at the European, like on the top of it, like the United Kingdom comes from the best, like according to our census, according to the census which is done by World Web Foundation. Then pull the Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Finland, and then there was the United States and something else. We find it's quite difficult to compare likes with likes across different borders and across different jurisdictions. there is good things coming from the European Union. One of the main barriers which we believe is on the way of open data prosperities in Ireland is the current PSI license, because it's not really open, because it limits commercial reuse of data. And if I want to build a platform driven by data, somehow I need to pay for server, for hosting, and it needs to be funded. So, and because I cannot use advertisement, for example, on the same page, I cannot pay for it. And there is consultation, ongoing consultation going on in Ireland about opening up and changing it, or making PSI license open, and it comes from Brussels. As far as we understand, the final decision has to be made somewhere around July. Am I correct?
I think it will be made, though. I think that the movement is towards
Yeah.
I think that argument is one, it's just pushing it through and making it happen.
Just got time for one more question. And it's
Actually, it was a response on this. Certainly from the CSO point of view, we have to provide data into Eurostat. I think, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think some other government departments, Department of Agriculture, etc., may also be doing so. So there is the potential that something could be disseminated by Eurostat before and even without it necessarily being disseminated directly in Ireland. But I couldn't give you any specific examples.
right. Well, I'd like you to put your hands together for our panelists.